thing I saw today.
Just kind of hoping we could go on like a 3-week training course, have to fill out some forms and all the other good stuff.
Yes, it would be nice.
To be fair, given the administration's paperwork, that may actually be an actual adventure to get through the library.
Indeed, it'll be an exciting adventure. Are you saying that you're not a fan of paperwork?
Avoid the flying cherubim. They've gone feral and they're trying to eat your face now.
All right, I can see one other character's name and 2 XP bars. HP bars, not XP.
I see one person's HP bar, mine with my fate points, and nobody else's name token.
Yeah, I see my own, and yeah, I see crazy-looking guys.
Yeah, I see crazy.
See
Yeah.
his
He's
health
an
bar, but
HP bar.
and Genevieve Castile. I can see her name
Her
tag.
name.
But I'm pretty sure what's happened is Hellion has assigned these things to the tokens, but hasn't made them publicly visible.
Or there may be reasons behind what he's done.
Well, not really. I don't know how I'm doing, mostly.
Hellion never has a reason behind anything.
The reason is, I don't know.
The reason is he got partway through and got distracted.
Also a possibility.
Well, some of the bars are not showing is because you all didn't actually assign numbers to wounds, fate, and fatigue.
That would probably help.
Well, I don't have any fatigue, so
You have a fatigue threshold, though.
Yeah.
I forget how to figure that out.
Yeah,
Strength and
it's,
toughness, something.
No, not strength. It's toughness bonus and willpower bonus.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking of lift strength.
Indeed. But that's not here or there.
Thankfully, fatigue doesn't always come up that often.
I guess I'll try and make.
Yeah, I overlooked fatigue because it so rarely matters.
I had
Yeah.
fatigue set and it still doesn't show that as a bar.
And it turns out our first adventure is on a desert planet, and then we're going to be massively needing to understand it.
No, we're going to Hive Tarsus from what I recall from what Hellion said, which is close enough.
It may as well be a desert.
Only on the outer layers, on the inside it's fucking cold.
Well, further down you go, the colder it gets.
Indeed.
Why isn't
A
fatigue
cold,
threshold
a
bar?
cold desert is still a desert.
Fatigue threshold bar just doesn't seem to have been picked up off the sheet because my fatigue threshold isn't showing either.
Well, I mean, if you guys add some fatigue to yourselves, you might find it might show something.
Let's have a look.
I added 1, and it's not showing.
All right then. I don't know
Yeah.
why that doesn't show, but
No, that's okay.
yeah, who really cares?
Fatigue is the green bar, right? Because
Yes.
Apparently.
it gave me something there.
Interesting.
Maybe
Yeah, I
it's
can
not
I can
linked
still
to
only
that.
say Jonathan and Genevieve's health bars apart from my own, but that's okay. It's no big deal. I can see everybody's
I can
names
see
now, and that's the
names.
more important thing.
Yeah, names are important.
Da-da-da-da-da. I'm gonna mute while I eat some toast.
Mm.
Nom nom nom.
Oh, I see why the fatigue's not showing up.
Why not?
Okay.
Because it didn't put it in fully in the token bar.
What do you mean?
Because it
Put
only
it
gave
in
1
fully.
6 in one of them, and it left blank for no bar.
Well, yeah, I figured it was like threshold is 6 and current is 0. We have no fatigue right now.
Yeah, but if you double click on your token, it just shows 0 out of blank.
Yeah. So it
Yeah.
should show the threshold in the blank.
I
just
just
typed in
manually
mine.
altered it, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
So did I.
Damn.
Me too.
Okay, so
It's no use blaming us for not setting our stuff if you haven't said it also.
I mean, I don't know what I'm doing, so no point in blaming us, me.
Neither do we.
Yeah.
No, I think
Yeah.
that's just an issue with the character sheet.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to journeying with a Warforged in Dark Heresy.
Oh, you mean Trick Million?
If that is what it chooses to call itself.
Which
I'm
world
a
is
human
Trig from?
being.
Yes, there is no abominable intelligences here.
Just the Death Core.
Isn't that that's Death Guard servant?
It could be. That looks like a really beat up suit of armor, but
Well, I mean, you can see the picture in the 40k chat, I believe.
oh yeah.
He did post it.
There's like some kind of renegade heretic or something.
It's basically a gas mask with a visor from a metal helmet.
I come from a rogue trader fleet. It may as well come from a eradicated group. I didn't get to be on the board. I was down.
But yeah, go on.
Oh no, it doesn't matter. I was just going to say, like, you know, even though feudal worlds have been around forever, like you never see any artwork of them for 40k stuff.
Just take a look at any Dark Angel pick. You got a good idea.
I'm not counting Space Marines, like, you know, Dark Angels or Black Templars or whatever. Yes, they have medieval aesthetics, but it's not really the same thing.
Well, I mean, Warhammer Fantasy exists, so you can.
Yeah, technically true, I guess.
That is an example, I believe. But yes. Shall we begin? Is everybody ready?
No, I want to waste more time.
Yay, wasting time.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's Altor's picture.
I'm ready. As I said, I'm just muted while I'm eating food.
Indeed. I will grab a drink and myself, and then I'll be ready as well.
I think I have 4 things. Oh, never mind. 2 of them are together.
What?
I mistook 2 of the fingers as being like one big finger for some reason.
Yeah,
No,
in Altor's
he's-
picture, where he's got his fingers splayed out, but his...
No, he's shooting the ice magic from Heretic. Oh, right, you're too young to remember that game.
What gets me about that is he's picked the 2 most awkward fingers to splay out together as well. Like, I can understand having the index finger and the middle finger pressed together when you've got your hand splayed out like that, but the ring finger and the middle finger, that's some weird tendon bullshit going on.
I mean, that's like someone that doesn't know how to do the Vulcan salute, so they just put the middle 2 fingers together and
I mean, well, that's it. I mean, I can do it, but it's not exactly a comfortable position to hold my hand in.
I mean, it's not really regardless, but I find it simpler to do than splaying the middle finger with the index finger. But...
Yeah, I find it much easier to put the middle 2 together rather than to try and do, you know, inner and outer together.
Yeah.
Interesting, because I can just switch between the 2.
I mean, we've pretended to shoot the gold magic from Heretic since I was in middle school, so...
Is that basically what you would do right after you threw an icicle at somebody?
Yes, basically.
Oh, I would be more worried about the Venus flytrap that's sitting on that guy's head.
Oh, how much he looks like Jafar.
I am more concerned about that octopus with a skull that's on the top of his staff, really.
You mean the baby skeleton?
Is it baby skeleton?
It's a baby skeleton.
It seemed very, you know, appropriate for 40k.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think it's actually a picture of a necromantic sorcerer.
You're a necromantic sorcerer.
He's just flinging gang signs right now.
But yes, let us begin. It is the 31st millennium. Humanity has spread to all corners of the galaxy under the banner of the God Emperor of Mankind, Carrion Lord, who sits upon the golden throne on Holy Terra. As the Master of Mankind, to him are sacrificed 1,000 souls every day, so he may never truly die and can continue his charge for all eternity. From his golden throne, even in death, the Emperor watches over humanity as its protector and guide. Imperium of Man is beset by countless threats from vicious and treacherous aliens, traitors and heretical human cults, conspiracies vying for power and for the glory for ruinous powers. The demons lurking beyond the veil of reality, ever searching for an opportunity to break through into the real space, to feast upon the souls and the flesh of mortals. In the grim darkness of the 31st millennium, there is only war. There is no peace among the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter, and the laughter of the thirsting gods.
Good God, y'all.
So welcome. Let's see.
That sounds dangerous. I feel like we should leave resolving that to competent people.
Are you not competent in
Played
your own
40K
skills?
before. There are no competent people.
We've got
After-
1,000 XP. None of us are competent.
After being singled out and inducted into the service of the Inquisition, things have not quite gone as you have imagined them. Removed from your past life, you have been tested and measured, questioned and interrogated. Aside from a few lectures given in darkened chambers that left you sick to your stomach, and seemingly endless stream of codes and ciphers given to you to memorize and destroy, you have been left largely to your own devices. Lodging under a false name in an anonymous lab block in Hive Sibelius on Scintilla, capital planet of the Galaxy sector, you have bided your time for weeks, waiting for the call from your masters, and perhaps their verdict. At last that call has come, and a blank-eyed courier has delivered you a note featuring a cipher of the Holy Orders. The message within was simple and perfunctory, containing a time, date, and a location. The instruction to come prepared and expect the company signed off with a single epithet: the Emperor protects.
We'll see about that.
Indeed.
That's from the Anarchy.
Yes. You arrive at the announced time and place to a nondescript facility at the edge of one of the Scintilla's middle hive districts. You input the codes that were delivered along with your instructions, giving you passage within the facility. The blank and plain walled corridors seem to continue endlessly, but eventually you find yourself into a darkened room with a table in the middle, surrounded by tall, backed darkwood chairs and a single light source lighting the table itself. And this is where you take your seat. The remaining room is bathed in darkness, with the other tall chairs at the table barely visible, each seating now an individual you now see before you. Would you please begin to describe each other to each other, for you now see 6 other people of various appearances and professions. Let's begin from the top left of this arrangement we have here in the Roll20.
proceed clockwise or counterclockwise?
Let's go counterclockwise, since one might be eating still.
Indeed. You can see a older looking man, quite thin and gaunt in features. Fairly short, a long black and grey beard hanging from his chin. Probably looks far older than most people in the room, and possibly like he might be just about as old as everyone else combined. Wearing simple dark colored robes with red and gold trim, and just looking out at each and all of you, waiting to see what comes next.
Very good.
I suppose seated at a separate corner is a man in his middle years, late 30s most likely. Been around a few places with a svelte build and fair complexion. A finely manicured mustache and some decent looking imperial robes and an impressive hat. Despite his age, he still has some finely crafted aquiline features. And
he's the leader. He has a hat.
Carries in and carries with him attached to his robes an assortment of, well, administrative peripherals, data slates, auto quills, and so forth. And apart from that, has no obvious armaments. To anyone who's not looking closely. He is said mostly still reserved and trying to carefully survey the room, take assessments of everyone else, as though he's waiting for the situation to possibly change very quickly, or something here to not be quite what it seems.
Very good.
Then there's darkish man who looks very wild and sort of uncivilized and unkept, except for his two chainsaws, which are immaculate. What's the word?
Immaculate, you mean?
Immaculately kept and glistening in fresh oils. He one day wishes to become the best swordsman in the galaxy. How he's actually going to do it in a galaxy with space marines, Eldar, literal gods, demons. I don't know, but he will try.
Lucius the Eternal has a word for you.
Lucius the Eternal is not the best swordsman, not even close with how many times he's lost and been killed.
It's his fucking shtick. Yes.
But Jeremiah Blitz might have a few things to say.
I bet, but Genevieve, go ahead.
So you see a fairly young, rangy, tan woman with blonde hair and gray eyes, fitted out in Imperial Guard flak armor. chain sword at her waist with the telltale look of most Adeptus Sororitas, surveying everyone calmly. And eyeing, I assume, the guy on her left very closely with his two chain swords.
Very good.
You'd see Trig without his helmet on. He's not exactly a savage at the table. He's a young-looking youth who appears slightly blackened, as if he's encountered a fair bit of fire in the past, having dealt with lots of equipment as well as other things dealing with the eternal flame. He'd either just be smoking a shit, what are they called? Brain, can't remember what they're actually called in 40k.
Glow stick.
sticks?
Low stick. Tobacco
Low
or
stick,
low
yeah.
stick? Oh, if it's a low stick, then you're getting high as fuck. If it's tobacco, then it's just a cigarette.
Oh, it's a cigarette then. I can't remember if that actually was just a literal cigarette or not. It's 40k, never clarifies at the time.
You want to buy some death sticks?
It's kind of implied that low sticks are weed.
Oh, yeah, I didn't realize that. He'd just be sitting idle with his gear off to the side. One of which would be an actual flamethrower, so that might be a bit more concerning. Or would it be if it wasn't for the guy with the chain sword that's on his back. And that's it.
And he
Alright.
talks just like the pyro.
Oh. Anyway, so you'll all be seated when Erixia comes. I think the word that comes to mind the most when Erixia moves is scuttles. Not quite like a crab, but there's a certain perpendicularity to the way that she moves. You'll all be familiar with the robes of the Adeptus Mechanicus. They're red robes with white cogtooth trim. What you won't be so familiar with is the great big beaming smile that she offers everybody over the table as she clambers into her chair and tucks her feet up beneath her, just looking between you all and just going, well now, who are you? And she's just going to turn and look at Silas on her left, on her right.
You may call me Silas. Silas Geist, and one would assume we're all here on similar purpose.
She's just going to nudge a pair of, a pair of glasses, which are also quite odd to see on a tech priest's face. Push them back up her nose and sort of nod you, and then look to everybody else. Mysterious message this morning. Come here, sit down, meet everybody, wait for instructions.
About right what I got as well. Wasn't expecting such an interesting group.
She's going to stand up on the chair and look over the back of it, trying to peer into the darkness.
Jarek is going to be looking very suspiciously at Erixia in particular. Murderers and psychopaths he's used to, but a smiling, happy tech adept is weird and to be suspected.
I have met many people in my life. Most of this is normal, but you are the curious one here.
I am very curious. I think that's why they took me. They wouldn't have left me on the research station if I was. I mean, they should have left me on the research station, but they took me because I was curious, I think. Hey, do you know who we're here to meet?
Each other, I believe. Beyond that, I know no more than you.
I wasn't the one sending the message, and only you, Garrett, Jonathan. Well, I guess it wouldn't need another name. Man with a hat, greasy man.
Jarek Heller will do, my good man. And if we're going to play this loose with operational security, I suppose I may as well confirm. I also did not send the message. I assume we're here at behest of an as yet undisclosed third party.
I'm Erixia, by the way.
Charmed.
Genevieve's just watching everybody. She hasn't said a word.
I don't suppose you are the progenitor of the command to assemble here?
Is he looking at Genevieve?
Yes, because I think she's the only one that hasn't affirmed.
Jonathan hasn't, but I don't know.
He is polishing his chainswords as you speak and ignoring
everyone.
Jarek is making a guess that the deranged-looking person polishing his chainswords is probably not the person who summoned them here.
That's what they want you to think.
Genevieve's gonna sit up a little straighter in her chair and lean forward slightly to get a direct line of sight to Jarek. No. I'm waiting for commands, and I suggest everyone else should. Patiently.
I've been waiting for weeks. Come on, we're here now. Can you come out?
That's always the question. Well, I think that's the question in my own little brief experience in this new line of work. Everything's so unclear. You never know what it is they really expect you to do, what they want from you. Used to be so simple. Everything had a nice rule and regulation, proper workflow.
Oh, you're one of those.
Believe me, when these sort of people want something from you, you'll usually know quite direct.
Well, whoever our mysterious host is.
I was muted, alright.
You don't suppose they wanted us to kill each other to ascertain as a test, right?
Excuse me, the intercom was muted.
Jonathan backs up. Derek says that.
So it just opens up saying, seriously, how does this thing work again? How have you not gotten this one?
Anyway.
You need to hold the button down, sir.
As you are discussing, speculating the reasons why you were gathered here and by whom, you suddenly begin hearing gears grinding against each other, emanating throughout the room and the floor you're in. And the table and the chairs you are sitting in front of begin to move into a new configuration. Let's see.
Erexia's going to hang over the arm of her chair and try and look at the mechanism that's moving her chair.
As you look upon the chairs, you notice that you are suddenly moved into a half circle type of configuration. Let's see if I can get this correct here. There we go.
There we go.
About this way.
So Genevieve
And
didn't move.
No. Eventually, well, the chair kind of shifted angle, so it faces this way now.
Very impressive, and a violation of at least 3 different regulations I can think of off the top of my head.
Indeed.
Well, this is showing.
And now you notice that there is a single empty chair on this facing you on the other end of the table. From the darkness, you hear a voice say, "I am glad that you answered my summons, even when not knowing what you were being summoned for. You've shown that you will face what will come regardless of what uncertainty you might still have. And let's me just reveal this mysterious shadowy figure. The
Dun, dun.
darkness in the room still holds sway at the other end of the table, making it difficult to see the figure before you as it sits down in its empty chair.
Are those his eyes, or does he have really pronounced white eyebrows?
That's the mustache.
That's for you to know. I mean, you to find out. Yes. Yes. As then this new guest sits in its chair, on the other side of the table, the shadows appear to deeper around the chair, hiding its occupant further and obfuscating their appearance. You see a gloved hand opening a decorative box with an inquisitorial seal embedded on its lid. You hear the shadowy figure continue speaking. Predicting the future has always been an inaccurate science to all but the most blessed of our most holy God Emperor servants. Most who claim to practice the art rely on gut feelings or make their predictions what they believe their audience wants to hear, and as a result commit to nothing. You watch as the gloved hands reach into the box and pull out what appears to be an Imperial tarot deck unlike any you have ever seen before. The backs of these tarot cards are luminescent and give a soft glow every time the gloved fingers brush across their surface. The gloved hands begin shuffling the deck, the glow changing color as cards pass through each other. If anybody has Forbidden Law Warp or I believe Common Law Astra Telepathica, they may test those skills to figure if they know more about this business.
How does the warp work again?
I know administratum and bureaucracy, so that clearly applies.
Not in this case, I believe.
Mm.
Good try though.
Jammed my brain.
The shadowy figure draws the top card from their fleshly shovel deck and places it on the table in front of them, lighting up a panel under it. The voice you heard so far continues. Even those blessed with the ability of foresight can still fall prey to foolish notions of inevitability and depreciatory attitudes. Time flows towards a singular point, but the route it takes follows the path of least resistance. Another card is placed down on the table next to the previously placed card, and another panel is lit. I have brought you here for a mission. An agent of our holy order has disappeared in the course of their duties, and his work is very valuable to us and to the safety of the citizens of Scintilla. The third card is placed next to the second card, together forming a spread of 3 cards. The figure before you places the remaining deck inside its box, still resting on the table, and continues. You will have minimal supervision and support, but I have reason to be confident you will perform your task with a discretion and ingenuity that will allow you to avoid the attention of our enemies. Interrogator Galen will provide you with full mission briefing. From him, you will receive full details of your assignment and answer to any questions pertaining to it. You watch as the figure gets up, covered in darkness behind their chair, and with the hard soul sitting on a marble surface, picking the ornate box containing the remaining tarot deck as they go. I would wish luck on your mission, but I know you are above such notions. I eagerly wait word on your success. Only a moment later, with footsteps of your previous guest still ringing around you, the lights in the room suddenly slam on. You now see that you're in a large white marble room with a ceiling some 50 feet above you. No sign of your previous guest in sight. You turn your attention to the only door in the room behind you as it opens inward, and a bald man with a dark red goggles and a severe scar across their face enters the room with a clinical look on their face. Let me just hide this one. You can say goodbye to Mr. Shadowy Man and
Bye, Mr.
say hello
Shadowy
to-
Man.
say hello to the Mr. Red Eyes. Oh, come in.
Sir, you forgot your other red eye. You only had one in.
He's polite, he knocks.
Indeed. This new man quickly walks up to your table and around it to reach the now empty chair with a data slate in his hands. He takes a seat from across from you and speaks. I am Interrogator Galen. 2 weeks ago, we received our last transmission from Agent Chariot, stationed on Hive Tarsus. I would have your eyes on the Pictcaster. Galen stabs on the screen of his data slate with his fingers, and the contents of the data slate are suddenly projected over the briefing table. And now I will reveal you. Yes, you already have the Scintilla data slate, but let me just show to all players. There is now Agent Chariot briefing.
Hang on,
Yay,
this
more
man
data
is
slate.
entirely too handsome to be an inquisitorial agent.
Well,
He's got,
Nah.
he's got the money to make it look better.
He's a radical inquisitor following the Slanesh. So.
All of his tattoos, augmetics, and horrific scars are all just off screen.
They're on the inside.
Would somebody like to read out loud the data slate for the benefit of our listeners?
Agent Chariot was conducting preliminary investigation into a smuggling operation being facilitated in Tarsus. Heretical objects and texts were being smuggled to Centillian nobility as valuable but innocuous curiosities. Chariot had identified Cadius Gert,
Gert.
ex-Navy captain, as the head of operation, while gathering evidence against Geert. I'm just going to call him Geert. In knowledge of his whereabouts, Chariot came across a peculiar item the smugglers were transporting. This item bore no typical heretical characteristics as other merchandise being smuggled, but furthermore was being smuggled off Centillia instead of onto it. Chariot described the item as a obsidian cuboid 5 inches long, 3 inches wide, 1 inch high, with smooth out edges and minuscule fissures crossing its surface. Additionally, he detailed his plan to consult with administrative scholars specialized in history and the worlds of Hathoroth subsector. We've identified this scholar to be Exorciandus the Ninth,
Exorcisandus IX, yes.
who is in possession of the largest public record about Hathoroth on Scintilla, located in the administrative quarters above the Golden Hand trading complex. Chariot's last report is from 2 weeks ago, and there has not been any other attempts to make contact from him since. We have decided to take action in this insidious threat once and for all. Your mission is to discern fate of Agent Chariot. Should he be alive, then you are to assist him in any way you can. Should he have expired, complete his investigation and bring Kadias Gert, Emperor's Judgment. To prevent Geert and his network a chance of vanishing into the shadows, it is integral that any investigation you conduct is done with subtlety and discernment. Be prepared to remove traces of your pathing should it be required to preserve the secrecy of your investigation. Addendum 1, Agent Chariot specialized in information gathering is exclusively trained to resist enhanced interrogation methods in case of capture. Received passing grade in combat training. That's good for him. Chariot's last known alias is Maglin Boone, a representative of Smoldering Wrath Chartist Trade Interest, stationed on High Justice that has an office at Golden Inn. Last known address of Maglin Boone is Square of Splendid Frugal Ecclesiarch, 112A East, Middle Hive Sector, 3.5.
All right. That was very good.
Mhm.
Indeed. But yes, that was rather expensive info dump that has been now poured into your ears. And
I will try to make a copy of this, and then a duplicate copy if possible. You can never have too many backup copies of paperwork.
yes, and you're going to leave them lying about everywhere you go, so everybody will have a copy. Yes. Another thing that Interrogator Galen will provide you are cover identities as representatives of the Smoldering Wrath Chartist Merchant Interest, similar to Agent Chariot. Using them will give you a reasonable, believable reason to investigate his disappearance. Galen hands each of you a picture identification as well as documents from orbiting Navy installations indicating you came on board trade vessel Terrible Truth. As he passes each of you, he speaks. It falls to you how do you utilize your identities, if at all. You can claim to be tracking down Maglin Bone over suspicions of embezzlement or over a genuine concern for a valued employee. Use your better judgment. After handing off the last of the documents, Galen returns to his side of the table and looks you over one more time while shutting off the picked casters. If you have questions, ask them now. You have 3 days from your arrival at Hive Tarsus to find Agent Chariot. At that point, you will have rescued him or carried out Emperor's justice against those who brought about his end. Your pickup will be waiting where you first arrive in Hive Tarsus.
I have a question. Who was the guy with the guards?
I do not understand the question. I was the only one. I was the only one here.
Are the tarot cards still on the table?
Yes. He doesn't seem to acknowledge their existence.
I'm curious. How strong are these cover identities? What level of scrutiny might we expect them to stand up to?
As it stands, there are official records that Smoldering Wrath Galaxy Conveyor is currently traveling a 300-year trade route somewhere in the Marcaean Marches. To verify their genuity would be a very extensive and arduous task. They will hold up for almost, any scrutiny that is not doesn't have resources to make contact with the Smoldering Wrath. Well, resources and interest in contacting Smoldering Wrath itself.
Second question: what forms will we need to fill out for commencing with this assignment?
Galen is just going to look at Jarek with a blank stare. Before asking any other questions.
This organization is weird and makes no sense.
Genevieve's just going to say that this is the will of the Emperor, then you shouldn't question such matters. And just do your duty.
I think his duty is filling out forms. He looks like the sort.
I do a bit more than just filling out forms, but I have no direct experience with how any sort of organization can function without a proper application of forms. So I suppose I will have to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. Am I to assume that there are no more further questions?
When do we leave?
Are the evidence against Claudius Goethe conclusive enough that we can just enact judgment without doing any more investigation on the matter?
For the Holy Inquisition, yes. We, however, do not have his current location or information about his network. That was part of Agent Chariot's purview. He, in accordance to the mission guidelines, he took prioritized learning more about this obsidian stone, and was unable to deliver us the definitive information we needed, which is why you will come into this.
Do you know if his apartment has some kind of a secret compartment where he stored this information?
It is possible, but we have no concrete information.
Well,
Are the
if I ever get a secret compartment, I'll let you know.
Are the tarot cards on the table face down? Or face up?
Yes, they are face down.
I apologize for having to ask this, but I suppose it's necessary in the absence of any forms. What is our primary objective here? Because there seem to be uncovering more information about this Geertz organization, digging up the history of this strange item, and neutralizing Geert personally.
This item, the obsidian stone, is entirely tertiary. Whether you find information about it or its location is only something to do if you are able to do so without needlessly risking the rest of your mission. Finding Agent Chariot is primary. If you can recover him, the better. If you cannot, then that is unfortunate. Ultimately, while valuable, Agent Chariot is replaceable. If you do encounter Guardius Goethe or find information about his network, regardless what else you do, would be in the best interest of the Inquisition and the Imperium as a whole. Therefore, you may consider it secondary. Do you wish me to outline it in more clearer than that?
No, that will be all. I think I understand the situation quite clearly and do not require any further explication.
Genevieve is just staring very curiously at the 3 tarot cards that are still face down on the table that haven't even been acknowledged.
If that is all, your transport leaves in half an hour. Just follow the corridor to the hangar bay, and you will be taken to Hive Tarsus.
One further question. Have we
Yes.
the address of the residence used by Agent Chariot or any safe houses that might have been available to him?
It was on the data slate.
Yeah, the last
Last
addendum.
known address.
Were there any safe houses as well, or was there only one address?
If he had others, he had prepared them outside of the inquisitorial mandate. He did have an extensive network of informants, but it is unlikely he disclosed his true allegiance to any of them. If you figure out how to make contact with his informants, then you could make some use out of them.
One last question.
Yes.
Genevieve is going to point at the 3 tarot cards on the table. Are these meant for us?
Galen looks at the table curiously, but and then back at Genevieve and say, I do not understand what you are trying to say. I see nothing there.
Huh.
Can I pick up the cards?
I was about to say Genevieve's going to reach forward and pick one up. Or try to pick one up if it'll even... It is actually there.
Yeah, it is there.
feeling-
Garland will look at you curiously, but in the end he merely shrugs his shoulders.
Do I find his presence extremely uncomfortable?
No, I would have told you if you did. But anyway, Garland will merely shrug his shoulders and reiterate, your transport will leave in half an hour. I will bid you good luck on your assignment. At which point he will
Scrutiny on
gather
not seeing
his-
anything, not knowing anything about anything.
Sure, I mean, yeah. Well, he gathers his data slates and departs, but yes, you can make a scrutiny test.
I fell.
Yes, you did. You cannot tell if Galen is aware of the tarot cards or not.
Well, actually I can, because he didn't welcome us here. The guy before him did. So he knew that we were already welcomed here, so he didn't need to do that.
Or he gives no shits about welcoming us here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
that's
not
proper
gonna
etiquette.
scrutiny because I don't have that trained.
Anyway, yeah, you picked up a card.
Yes.
All right. If you turn it around, you see an image of a. Let me just pull this up here. If I can just get it. Oh, God damn it. Where's that thing? One moment, please.
Damn, we should bring these cards with us. Use it to put on messages to each other. Then we can just show them, and no one else can see those.
Yes, the card that you picked up has the image of a space Hulk.
Okay. What do the others have?
Well, if you pick them up in order, then you will see. Let's see. you will let me. God damn it! Now I lost it again. You will see a image of a swirling mass of nothingness, and lastly, you will see. Let's see if I had it here. Let's see. An image of a robed man sitting in a golden throne. You can roll common law Imperium to know who this is or what this depicts.
Sorry, I don't know anything about the Imperium.
It's like something from a half-remembered dream.
The only common lore I have is Adeptus Sororitas, so.
Well, the Sororitas wouldn't know anything about the man.
And a golden throne. No, never.
It's like I would just
But
say
that
personally, I would have been there, I would have seen it, I just won't remember it.
All right, I will allow an intelligence test at -10 to figure it out.
Ha! I have intelligence.
I could totally roll against the 19. Let's try this. Minus.
Oh god, I actually have intelligence.
Oh, look at that.
Damn, I just missed.
Well, Jonathan Ayers realizes that this depicts not the Emperor, but Malgador the Sigilet, also known as the first regent of Terra.
Ah, it's that dude.
That sounds like heresy to me.
I was like, guys, got a
Emperor.
critical success.
The Emperor very specifically decreed he would be known forevermore as Malkador the Hero.
Silas rolled a 1. You got this. You know,
Yeah, no.
I
Well,
love. Sorry, just out of character and as an aside, I love the fucking bias from Roll20 that 1 is always denoted as a failure, regardless of what system you're playing in.
yeah. Well, okay, so Silas did get a 1. I will allow you to realize that the regent symbolizes ceaseless service in the shadow of one great sacrifice ability over birth and evolution of man in the Imperial turret.
Is anybody else holding on to the cards? If not, Genevieve will hold on to them.
I think we should probably make a quick time. It simply will not do to be impunctual, to not be punctual for our ride.
Indeed, if we do not have all of our belongings, perhaps we should swiftly gather them and make our way to wherever it is we're going.
You didn't come prepared?
I did. I do not necessarily know that everyone else did.
Genevieve's just gonna pat her combat vest and... I'm ready.
I have come with all I will require for my duties.
I've come with all I own. This is mainly the chainswords.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put...
I surmise as much.
They're more valuable than his life.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, they're scarce. They're pretty valuable.
Yeah, chainswords are pretty valuable.
Almost as valuable as a sentinel.
Commonwealth actually valued the...
More valuable than a sentinel if we believe the stupid book.
Yeah.
Genevieve's gonna be looking from her 1 chainsword and chainblade to Jonathan's 2 chainswords.
It's not a competition.
It's not a competition. She's just glad that somebody else has a weapon on them. An actual weapon, not some guns.
Wooden staff.
Well, Trig Million has a flamethrower. But,
She's got a hand flamer, but she doesn't. She honest to God has no idea how the frick to use it. other than pull the trigger and pray, which is all that ever is required.
Yeah, pray and spray. Exactly. That's how these things work.
No, that's actually how the sororities work. They spray and they pray. That's
Yeah, that's the two things we do. I did describe her as, you can tell she's Adeptus Sororitas.
This is a weird group of people.
Yes, this is.
Mainly the Adeptus Mechanicus person. She's weird.
Yeah, Rexy has already disappeared under the table to start prodding at the mechanisms down there, so...
Honestly, Trig Million's probably the most sane one here, but we're not sure because we can't see his face.
No, he doesn't have his
And he
mask on at the
mumbles
moment.
constantly.
Yeah, Trig said he was civilized. Trig said he was civilized and not wearing his hat. I'm just like, it's just like Genevieve's just wearing her armor because he had no idea.
In my mind,
She
at
came
least,
prepared.
Trigmillion's voice and his comments are the warp fire thrower from Vermintide 2.
Those probably a better image than the pyro.
But yes, should be on our way out the door to wherever. Just follow the hallway to the hangar.
It's fascinating. They've got this whole clockwork and gearwork set up just to make an impression and make people think that they're much more impressive than they really are. This is ridiculous. Why would you bother doing that with just some chairs and a table? You just like lay the chairs out in the order that you wanted to. Oh, you're leaving now. Okay.
Yeah.
Genevieve
Yes,
would have
we
just
should
started
leave.
leaving.
Yeah, they take a brief moment to make sure my Darksmith stack is still properly plated, and you'll go with the rest.
Yes, you enter back into the featureless Rockreed corridor, and as you travel down along it, you become more and more aware of a craft coming from before you. Around the next corner, you enter a spacious hangar with a large sliding double doors at the other end of it. A lighter craft sits in the middle of the hangar, its engines firing up and the ramp lowering as you arrive. I assume you will board this vessel.
Be seated
Yes.
and, safely, belt ourselves in, I hope.
Well,
Apart from Eric's here, maybe.
so what kind of craft is this?
It's an Arvus lighter.
The flying brick.
Jarek will just, if he can, at least real quickly see if he can access the pilot's area.
Yeah, you can. There are two pilots there making flight checks. One of them will turn to you and say, "We'll be taking off in 5 minutes. Please strap yourself in. It's going to be a very long flight."
Of course, no problems. Go back. Well, flight crew seems to be in keeping with all Imperial atmospheric flight regulations, so we can rest easily.
Altor just suddenly had a mic explosion.
Yeah, your mic is now picking up everything, darling.
Indeed. Yeah. If you strap yourself in, then after 5 minutes, indeed, you feel the craft take off and fly out of the hangar and immediately crash into the ground. Well, no, that's not.
Party wipe.
Pretty
Roll new
vibe.
characters.
Roll new characters, yep.
That's just the engine starting. That's just the engines failing.
That's just this aircraft having absolutely no aerodynamic properties whatsoever, and plummeting like the brick that it is.
That's just a cop swimming around your ankles.
Well, the Arvus lighter is a lovely giant brick.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
much
it
so.
pretty much is the definition of brick in this system.
Indeed. Eventually, many hours later, your feel the shuttle begin to descend and eventually land itself, and the engines begin to die down as you hear the pilot exclaim that you may now remove your seatbelts as you have arrived at Hive Tarsus.
Seatbelts or restraints, whichever you want to call them.
Indeed.
In the Atmospheric Flight Safety Regulations Regulatory Manual, they are listed as restraining belts. So that is the term we should use.
As your lightercraft lowers its rear ramp, you are hit by a wave of heat as exceedingly warm air from the outside begins to overwhelm the relatively cool air of the shuttle. Despite being built deep within the Hive Tarsus, cast in deep shadows and the light of the sun only a small rectangle in the distance, the heat still catches you by surprise. Bare-chested menials keep working around you, constantly loading and unloading cargo from shuttles that keep coming and leaving at a steady rate. Loudspeakers broadcast motivational phrases with occasional break consisting of a sermon promulgating grace and glory of the God Emperor and the Golden Throne. You have arrived at Hive Tarsus, and it is now forced to you to conduct your investigation. How will you proceed?
To the Batmobile.
I'm trying to figure out what's Genevieve's new identity. She would have been looking over that on the trip going, who am I supposed to be?
Yep.
Well, if you look over your identities, you are slated, some of you are slated as representatives of the Smoldering Wrath, and others, those who are more violently oriented, are listed as bodyguards and armsmen.
What is Heller listed as, out of curiosity, then?
Administrative consultant.
I'm assuming Genevieve is a bodyguard.
Yes.
I'm really good at speaking. I am a representative. No.
Yes. Salas Geist is a negotiator. Rixia is a technical consultant, and Typhon Heller, Jarek Typhon Heller is the administrative consultant.
So 3 bodyguards. Get it.
Okay, well.
One for each.
If he's supposed to pass as a negotiator, you'll want to make sure you don't do anything witchy, okay?
How would you know I'm a witch?
I thought it was obvious. I assumed you had the staff and the astrotelepathica shit and all that. If you're a psyker being allowed to walk around by himself, there'd be some indication you're a psyker.
Well, despite the extra image I sent around, Silas does not actually have a staff at all. Does have a talisman that he wears around his neck and normally has it concealed beneath all his robes.
So nobody knows he's a psyker, no psyching.
That his name is Silas Geist, so... I feel like that should be citable as evidence.
Psyker, no psyching.
You really do not have anything to worry about.
I don't have anything to worry about because Genevieve wouldn't have recognized him as a psyker if he has no identifying markers.
Yeah, we can't even have this conversation, all that, if there is no means to tell you're associated with the Adeptus Astrotelepathica.
Yeah, so that's what you're saying. There's no means to tell.
Nothing obvious on the outside.
So that means I can find information on the inside. Come here.
I think our very first course of action should be to consult with our man's last known contact.
Contact and his place of residence.
Both are possibilities. But yes, this Exorcisandus the Ninth piques my interest.
With the lack of any further information, that's probably a good place to start. Makes sense.
Genevieve's just staying quiet. She's supposed to be a bodyguard, so she's gonna be a bodyguard. And just stand quietly behind it, or to the side of one of you three that are not bodyguards.
Well, we have 72. Well, we only have 72 hours to complete this. This will be a considerable assignment in a place as large as Hype Tarsus, but not unachievable. But we don't have an hour to waste, so I suggest we get going.
Indeed, we should probably check out that last known address to be helpful to figure out what happened there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, where will you go first?
Was it Heller suggests going to the Administratum to see the Exorcisandus the Ninth first?
I mean, both of the addresses we've got are somewhere near the Golden Hand Trading Quarter. We've got him in the administrative quarters above the Golden Hand Trading Complex, and then the last known address of Chariot's alias is not too far from there. So
True.
presumably we should head in that direction and look at both of these.
Indeed. But you still need to pick one. Which one do you go first?
Perhaps his address first. If he had any prior meetings with Exorcisandus, then he might have notes, some sort of journal as to their previous meetings, if he'd had any.
All right, we'll read the address first.
All right, very good. Yes. It is not difficult to find. If you ask for directions, people can give you, guide you there fairly easily. Let me just skip ahead on my notes a bit over here. Here we go. Yes. You make your way there, some main access tunnels, along with the many of the rest of the crowd, consisting of merchants, administrative officials, and even some people in brown and I believe bronze uniforms with their faces painted in gold, detonating them as the functionaries and staff of Goldenhide itself. You arrive at the square of the splendid frugal ecclesiarch, which is a large square, 300 meters across, pulled into ruins of a much larger space or structure, with an entrance wide and tall enough to fit a whole stack of shuttles you arrived in through it. The entrance archway opens into a courtyard itself, and immediately before you is a large group statue depicting an ecclesiarch archbishop assisted by 2 flying cherubim handing out equal amount of thrones to each bleeding imperial citizen, including a guardsman, a noble, a menial, and an adept, among others. Let's see. Those who have received their handful of thrones look upon the ecclesiarch with gratitude, while formless, robed and hooded figures behind the ecclesiarch cower away from him as if burned by his mere presence. On the base of the statue, there is a weathered plaque of some kind.
If we go get thrones from him, do we get influence?
It's a statue.
No, from the ecclesia. Handing out thrones to people.
That's the statue.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
It's a statue of an
Yeah,
ecclesiarch.
it's a statue
handing-
depicting the act of generosity.
Yeah. I missed the bath.
Indeed.
You don't think the ecclesiarchy would actually give out money, do you?
No.
Well, kind of depends on how it's going to be defined. That, but he's certainly not going to be handing out to a very oddly diverse, mob collection consisting of, a guardsman, a menial, a noble, an adept, and whatever the hell else I don't remember.
Yes. So where do we go from here to get to this address?
Well, the haplocks surrounding the square are 3-story tall with mini-storm imagery carved on their walls depicting important events from Calixian history and great deeds of the God Emperor. A mural in the ceiling depicts Saint Drusus leading his troops, flanked by a towering figure of a space marine and several ecclesiastical priests against the enemies of mankind. Are depicted center stage, so anyone entering the square can see them right after seeing the statue itself. The square is crowded with only some space left for foot traffic for people going on about their business. Across from the on the right side of the square from where you entered, you can see Magistratum auto carriage parked next to a hab block with 112 mark on it with large black letters. Indeed. On the building, you also see 2 different entrances. One is marked with B and one is marked with an A.
All right. Well, we go down A, looking for number 112.
Indeed, very good. Let's see. I would like you to, everyone, to make an awareness test at +10.
I see.
Awareness. +10. That didn't work.
Target 0.
I don't think
Sounds
you can
right.
actually put plus, then you just have to put in.
Yeah, you don't put a plus in. You only put a sign if it's a minus.
Yeah.
Well, 78 is gonna be a failure anyway.
Nope.
So
Myself and Jarek.
If you don't have it trained, it's -20,
20.
Yeah.
and then +10, or -10.
If you have a all specs, it's +20. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had the off specs. I passed that.
Oh, it already took out the 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't have it marked, it already does it for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I passed with another +10 because
I should have been against a 15, so I'd failed. So.
All right. Well,
Is it,
if
isn't it 25? For you?
it's +20 because of the off specs, yeah.
No, for Genevieve.
Okay. Okay.
Isn't
50.
Oh,
Yeah, it should have been
perception
25.
25?
Yeah.
I forgot to mark that as trained anyway, but
Okay,
I
so
rolled
I
a
did-
92, so that's not relevant.
Still. Okay, I passed. Yeah, it should have been
Yeah.
25.
Those of you who pass, you notice, you catch a glimpse of two figures on a roof of a hab block across the square, ducking below the solid roof railing wall. It seems that somebody is observing this area. Yes. Anyway,
Well,
yeah.
continue on like we know, like we're supposed to be here.
Indeed. You enter the door into Hablock 112. Based on the occupant list at the bottom of the staircase, you see that Macklin lives on the third floor. You begin to traverse the staircase and reaching the third landing, you are faced with two stern-faced Magistratum enforcers in the green overcoats. The door to Magnumbone's apartment taped shut with black and yellow Magistratum caution tape. As you arrive, one of them will hold out their hand to stop you and ask, "You, what is your business here?"
Well, good evening to you as well. Good evening to you as well, officer.
This is a crime scene. You cannot be here. Leave this premises immediately.
I think we can't unless we receive more information to that effect. We are authorized, chartered representatives of the Smoldering Wrath Chartist trade interest, and our likewise chartered member and representative Maglin Bohm is currently guilty of several offenses of failing to report at scheduled opportunities. And we are duty bound to all the chartist interests that we represent to locate him and determine the appropriate censuring course of action.
Huh. His secretary already reported him missing.
Indeed, a likely story. We're here to verify that.
Well, I can assure you the investigation is under control and progressing. You do not need to concern yourself with it.
What led you to conclude? Well, what led you to conclude that his former place of residence constituted a crime scene?
It was the first place Inspector Krenning had us search when I believe his secretary. He had his secretary in the Golden Hand. You have a office there, Smoldering Wrath.
Yes, you're well informed.
Apparently, his secretary reported him missing, and Inspector Krenning decided to investigate his home as the first step.
Well, if he is presumed missing at this current time and not dead or guilty of some crime, then his residence should not be a crime scene.
Precisely.
Oh, but it is. You see, turns out the place has been turned up.
Maybe he's just really messy.
Excuse me. It was turned upside down and trashed. So yes.
I mean,
is
is it a crime to
scene.
have a messy house?
We have reasonable cause to believe this was act of break-in. We are still investigating.
Well, that being said, and him being a part of our company, perhaps not all of us, but some of us might be permitted to inspect the premises ourselves.
Indeed, it seems that we're going to need to be having a personal conversation with this investigator before we can conclude this interminable case. And I imagine it will be much easier for all involved if we can say that we've had full cooperation.
It is against regulation to allow civilians onto an active crime scene.
But I'm not a civilian. I'm a member of the Adeptus Mechanicus.
And is it regulation and interfere with matters of important Chartist business on such spurious grounds?
Alrighty then. Let's see. You can attempt. Alright, with these arguments, you can attempt a charm test at -10 or a command test at +0. Or I suppose you can also attempt to deceive at -20. Yeah. Whichever of these you would like to try.
You don't have Oh.
He's a bookworm.
No, I have charm trained, but he said it's a -25. My fellowship is 35. I have charm and trained.
I'm just looking
minus 10.
Yes.
No, but still -10. Fellowship 35. Charm is trained. So 35 -10, 25.
Hovering over the roll thing, it looks weird.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that you rolled. Weird. Well, either way.
What? I put out -10. It's
no. Like
Yeah,
I'm saying, you
put
hover
it down
over.
fine. The way the roll works itself out in roll 20 is retarded.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what all those factors are, but
No,
I think the -20. I think that's the way it calculates for untrained. I think it
It's
always applies a
-20.
-20 penalty.
And then if you have the first check,
plus 10. Then the zeros after that, that's +10, +10, +10.
Yep, that's how. Yep, that's where those numbers apply. That's how it does it.
That's dumb.
It is dumb. That's why I was like
I guess
confused
it
for a
works.
second. That's
it
why I was
is
confused.
needlessly complicated, but I guess it works. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm competent for someone with 1,000 XP to work with, but I'm not an expert.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Time to intimidate.
Yes.
Does anyone have
If I-
intimidate?
So might I try charming as well?
If you wish, yeah.
Yeah, you're a Hierophant, right?
Indeed.
You can suspend fate and
If he fucks up, then he can spend a fate and auto succeed. Yes.
for 20 degrees. 77, that's crit fail. Right. Alright.
Not in this system.
At which point, then I just spend fate to succeed with, I guess, 4 degrees.
Indeed.
Your fellowship bonus in degrees, I think? So 4?
Yeah,
Usually
that's right.
those-
That's charm
yeah.
plus 10 also. So
But
that is exactly how it works, the roll thing.
Yeah, usually those spend a fate point to pass or with a degrees of success equal to your stat bonus.
Yeah, this is a willpower bonus of degrees.
Yeah.
Oh.
So your willpower
this
is
is fine.
40 something, so you have 4
43, so.
degrees. Yeah. All right. The enforcer considers for a moment until, all right, that seems reasonable. I'll have, I will, however, accompany you to make sure that nothing is disturbed.
Of course, naturally would not wish to impede on the work of you fine officers. And if we happen to find anything, we'd be happy to share.
Indeed. So yeah, no. The enforcer that has spoken to you will take out the key and open the door into Maglin Burns' apartment, and the other one will stay in the flight of stairs to make sure that nobody else intrudes upon the crime scene. Go here. Accompanying you, the enforcer takes you into the apartment. You enter the hab and are greeted by a chaotic mess. Cells with their contents thrown on the floor, mattress and the pillow with their stuffing stripped out, broken furniture strewn all about.
If it's chaotic, I think we'll need to burn it.
The house itself is divided into 2 rooms. Main room with a kitchen space in the corner and a bedroom with a small shower lavatory closet attached to it. Indeed. It is quite a mess. And I could go on describing how everything is a mess, but I will refrain from doing so.
You weren't kidding.
Yes.
It looks like our flat.
Yes, the enforcer with you will say, we have yet to discern or why anyone has trashed this place. We suspect they were searching for something.
How did you find out it was trashed?
We arrived here to search for Maglin Byrne. Because he was, as I said, reported missing.
Was the door unlocked or open when you arrived?
It was opened.
So he could have forgotten to close it and someone just passing by tried to rob the place.
Possibly.
The lock was not broken.
It did not have any signs of forced entry.
Curious.
Indeed, it is. Whoever it was, though, did an extensive work. They have basically gone through the entire apartment, breaking furniture and tearing away any possible hiding place they could have imagined. Even the cistern in the bathroom. However, if they found what they were looking for, we cannot say.
It seems they've done everything short of ripping holes in the walls. Did they rip holes in the walls?
They might have, actually.
Well, there are some signs of cracks on the walls, but you suspect that they were mostly done to, somebody was striking the walls to try and see if they were hollow in parts, or if they were, fake walls with, flimsy plaster in front of spaces and recesses.
So, not to disturb anything, but perhaps we should have a quick look around, see if we can see anything that stands out at all. Besides how messy it
We'll
is.
figure out what we're trying to look for.
Indeed. Well, you can search the place. Yeah.
Time to investigate.
You can indeed search the place, though, as Ayers mentioned, you are not sure what you're looking for. You are facing the same problem as the Magistratum enforcers.
Oh, in some ways, we might be looking for an absence of something.
Like a cogitator.
Like, if, all the data slates are missing, then someone was clearly after something, information he had.
Entirely possible. Well, you can make a awareness test or a scrutiny test to search out through this mess.
Awareness or scrutiny?
I find nothing.
I barely don't see anything.
Going to be using my aspects to help me a little bit.
Trick Million knows.
That's
He is
4?
looking for stuff.
This was a plus 0 test.
Was it plus 0, or did I forget to take some thing down?
I forgot to put plus 20, but for the aspects. I rolled an 80.
Indeed. Okay. So you search the apartment. On the floor, soon across the floor, you find documents pertaining to the commerce and business transactions of the smoldering wrath in trade interest. It seems that Macklin Byrne had brought some work from his office from Golden Hand to here. Let's see. Apparently, he had been inspecting some warehouses in the northern warehouse district to make sure the goods were of proper quality to be carried and by the smoldering wrath when it next would arrive back on Scintilla in the next 300 years. However, you are not sure if what you found was what whoever searched this place before was looking for. You have a creeping suspicion this might have not been it.
So we're still at square one.
Indeed, unfortunately. You feel you do not have all the pieces of this puzzle.
Yeah, likely not. Especially if you said, out of character, especially if you said you had to skip forward in your notes.
Well, I mean, not really skip forward. There's a lot of places you could have gone, and you picked this one. It was it was laid out in your briefing data slate anyway, so it was a very distinct possibility.
I'd hardly call it square one. The fact that he is missing and his home is ransacked, well, we already know a little more than we did when we came here.
Indeed. The enforcer that is with you will say yes. Will say, Inspector Grinning has done a fairly thorough job with this investigation, though I believe he might have also hit a bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? Bit of a wall, and is unable to progress. At least here in this Avenue investigation, I believe she had other leads, but whatever she has found out more following those leads, we do not know. We are just here to make sure the place is not disturbed.
Of course. Well, we shall not take up any more of your time. Perhaps now. Which precinct would we find the inspector at if we wish to speak with her ourselves?
Let me see. I had it here. The district 3, Magistratum precinct. You'll find her there. Now, was there anything else?
Hey, God girl, can you use the setting? Can you use the fancy settings on this thing?
Sure. Give it.
He'll toss out the aspects. It's just a test. It's just a test use of our. It's a standard tech use.
Tech use, yeah.
Yep. Let me have a look. Okay.
Grenning. Inspector Grenning. Let me type it out.
Yeah, we've had this issue a lot, even when it comes to English names and entities.
Yeah, I don't know where he got Jennings from. Also, you're muted if you're saying anything, I'll talk.
So that's just what I heard.
Don't know how you got Jennings from that.
Inspector Gadget, right?
Okay.
That's the name.
All right then.
You know how to use it exactly.
Yes. All right. Tech use allows you to learn more things about things that are not immediately obvious. All right. From your tech use test and using the auspex, you notice that the room is permuted with signatures of a depressant.
Ooh.
Let's see. Do you have a trade chemist or Medicae?
I have Medicae. I don't have trade chemist.
Test Medicae.
Alright. Any bonuses for this?
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
What?
Hey.
Okay. You identify this depressant to be main acting agent in certain specific addictive substance you recognize to be that is mainly used in the manufacture of Obscura.
Either he had a cracking Obscura habit or someone drugged him.
Why do you think that?
Because that's what the Auspex says.
The Auspex says he had a cracking. That's weird Auspex. Mine doesn't say that.
That's because you don't know how to use it. The Auspex says that there are traces of a depressant in the air that are. God, now I've lost my train of thought. That are consistent with use of Obscura. Either he was regularly using Obscura in here, or someone pumped enough Obscura in here to knock him out.
That's actually useful information.
Well, from the reads you have taken, you can tell that the reads are very recent. You don't think there has been a long-term use of this stuff in here, or on anybody?
Either that, or someone who was a recent. Either that, or someone who was an Obscura addict came in here and just tossed his place.
It's as much as you said it is. It seems like it is built up over time. Yes.
No, it's all very recent.
Oh.
Yeah, there are no signs of long-term Obscura signatures in this apartment.
Curious.
Curious.
Does he have a cogitator in here?
No.
Does it look like there should be a cogitator in here?
You do not see any compatible electrical sockets for a cogitator in his apartment. No.
They might have drugged him, or it might have been someone who had a drug habit who came in here and just tossed the place.
Those are reasonable assumptions, yes.
Is there a big Obscura problem in this area?
Do you ask this from the enforcer?
Yes.
We've recently been having problems with upper hive gangs pushing into the middle hive. They have traditionally been content staying in their hovels and shooting up Obscura and each other. But recently they have been pushing downwards, apparently emboldened and by their recent acquisition of firepower. They seem better equipped than before. I believe they have taken over some areas in the northern warehouse district. But you do not need to concern yourself with them. I assure you that the magistratum has situation completely under control.
But there's traces of Obscura in this room.
I see. I'm
so
sure.
Someone who's been using Obscura has been in this room, which suggests to me that you don't have an exact lockdown on the problem as you say you do.
The enforcer's eyes narrow at this statement.
Arixi's just going to grin in reply.
No, I think that would do. I'm sure the enforcers are doing all that they can.
Well, they weren't, because they were just standing in a hallway when we got here.
Are you about done here?
I can't see anything else to find. I don't know if anybody else has anything that they want to look for. There's no cogitator here, so there's not really anything I can do. I mean, if there was a body here, I could do something with the body, but there's nobody here, so I can't do anything at the moment.
Yes, I believe we're done.
All right. The enforcer will show you out, and we'll lock the door behind you. And then we'll continue standing in front of the door with his fellow enforcer, looking at you a bit impatiently.
Well,
Clearly, he has had enough of your statements.
thank you both for permitting us our time. If we don't get to them immediately, perhaps you might inform Inspector Krenning that a party of an interested party from... God, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head now. The Smoldering Raft charter traders are now recently arrived and are also interested in finding our man. And we will be along to speak with the inspector in our own time, unless he wishes to come and look for us at our offices.
We'll let her know that you can be found at the offices of the Smoldering Wrath. Now have a good day. Best be on your way.
I guess we leave, unless anybody else has something else that they want to say or do.
Hmm.
You'll spend next 3 days in this staircase doing nothing.
I'm heading back down the stairs.
Yeah, all right. So what will you do next?
Well, if our office and this Exorcist and this are in the same area, perhaps we might see both.
Yeah. Well, you didn't actually ask the enforcers where the officers were. Probably a good idea, since it would have been very weird that you didn't know where your officers were.
Like, we can be
Can you
found
please
at our
tell
offices.
us where we need to go?
It's like, we'll be found at our offices. Where are those?
Indeed.
I mean, I presume there's some sort of civic directory or phone book somewhere.
There's a candidate that we can plug you into for directions.
That's a reasonable assumption.
Plug you into a cogitator. But yeah, is there a public terminal that we can use just to get our bearings of where we are and where we've got to go?
Don't know about the public one, but there is a small cogitator panel for designed for mechanicus who might visit this place to perform maintenance rites that you could access.
All right then.
That'll be a tech use test.
Okay. Should be a relatively simple one, shouldn't it?
I'll tech use test at +20.
Okay. Damn. I missed by 1 degree.
No, that's unfortunate. You can also, if you want, ask for directions. That is also possible to do by performing inquiry test.
Mhm. I'm gonna thump the cogitator panel with the flat of my hand while I'm trying to work it. Someone who actually has inquiry might want to do an inquiry test.
Someone has inquiry. That's this.
What's inquiry? I don't have it.
Does anyone have inquiry?
No.
I was muted. I do have I have it known.
Well, you can use it to ask directions.
Let's see how I inquire.
All right.
Fairly well.
That is a success. Yeah. No. You find Golden Hand functionary who recognizes what you're speaking of. The officers of the Chartist mentioned interest, the Galaxy class conveyor vessel Smoldering Wrath, has their offices located in Golden Hand Northwest between the Worth and Sons Banking Agency and the Montgomery Energy Cartel offices. Should be fairly easy to find with these directions. So yeah, now you have the address. Is that where you wish to go next? Or would you rather see the Exorcist on this 9th?
Well, if our officers are in Golden Hand and his quarters are directly above the Golden Hand,
Yes.
we are essentially going to pretty much the same location, so it's just a matter of which one do we want to get to round two first.
Yes.
Let's roll a die.
Erexia is still hitting the panel, trying to get it to work properly.
We are going to the first place.
Which would be our office.
It would appear to be so.
The coin never lies.
All right. Very good. Let's take a look. You are, yes. All right. You head to the Golden Hand trading complex, and you enter through a very large archway. And you've heard of the Golden Hand before. As you finally make your way into the middle hive of Tarsus, you're taken aback by a staggeringly vast complex now stretching out before you. Countless trading halls and auction houses carry on beyond your sight as you stand on top of a great staircase leading down to the main floor of the complex. The main paths of the Golden Hand are crowded by masses of merchants and traders carrying symbols of noble houses, cartels, and syndicates, each accompanied by throngs of bodyguards as their chargers yell and competing offers, curses. They buy, sell, bargain, and negotiate with each other over sector and even system-wide business deals. Overseeing this unbridled commercial chaos are Golden Hand's staff. Functionaries are dressed in brown and brass and who have had their faces painted in deep gold. Standing out from the midst of this wealth and gold are the administratum adepts in their grey uniforms, noting down tied to the emperor with each trade made. Yes, the smoldering wrath Galaxy Glass Conveyor's office sits a long way from the main path, and the heated trade that takes place there, tucked away in a side street in between much larger trade halls and auction houses, there is a plain and functional building that, as you enter, turns out to be a small two-room space with the front room partitioned in two by a thin plastic semi-translucent wall, with the front acting as a waiting room. As you enter, you are greeted by a figure of a young adept sitting behind a plain, featureless desk with a line of filing cabinets standing behind him and stacks of papers flanking him from both sides. As he pores over the papers before raising his head and noticing your entrance, I'm gonna actually take us to a different map for this thing. Well, it's not really a different map, it's a sort of a different locale, I suppose. And
Yeah, our tokens are reset to the original state.
yeah, don't mind them.
But now, for some reason, the on this map the fatigue threshold works, but the fate threshold doesn't.
Wonderful. Let me try this again. Does that work? No. Okay.
No.
I will sort it out some other time.
Yeah, we'll
This
sort
is
it
not-
out later.
Yes.
This is
It's
not a
not
big
important right now. Yes. You can see this guy, right? This,
Yes.
Okay.
But if
Yeah.
we enter combat, how do we know?
Well, you probably there's not much room for combat in this place, so don't worry about it.
There's always room for combat.
I draw my weapon.
The adept stands up quickly. Welcome to the offices of the Smoldering Wrath. Unfortunately, the department chief, Mr. Bull, is not available at this time, but if you wish to arrange an appointment, I can take your names and your address in Hive Tarsus, and I'll be sure to contact you when chief is once more able to take appointments. And he kind of looks at you expectantly to give your names and addresses.
Actually, we are here seeking Master Brown because we'd heard that he had gone missing, and we hoped for a report upon what his business occurrences had been of late. I'll present my ID.
All right. He will take the identification presenting to him, and he seems to come to a realization and an aha moment. You're from the company. Very good. I wish I knew where Mr. Bull is. Sometimes he takes business trips that can take weeks, but he never leaves unannounced.
Well, if it's not an issue, perhaps we might see his calendar or diary, if he had any trips noted down that he may have just forgotten to mention.
Yes, I suppose. since if you are from the smoldering wrath, then surely you can search his office. Yes, the adept will walk from behind his desk and walk up to the door of the next room and unlock it for you, and then gesture you to step in. Behind the door, you will find an similar space to the front of the office, but unlike the adept's cleanly kept desk, Macklin Burns barely has any documents on it. Instead, there is a very plain potted plant sitting on the corner of the desk and a small stack of documents sitting on the opposite side of the desk. There are also similar looking set of filing cabinets lining the wall behind the desk as in the front. The adept looks upon you and holds holds his hands together. The magistratum officials already came to investigate after I reported Mr. Bone has disappeared, but I'm not sure if they found anything. Frankly, I feel they might not have entirely much interest in searching for him.
Why is
But,
that?
well, from what I understand, they are gearing the magistratum are busy with something else currently. Mr. Bone is, well, his position is fairly minor trade representative in the Golden Hand as a whole. I do not think that. I believe traditionally, magistratum have a need to prioritize their investigations.
How long since you last saw Mr. Bone? I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
I'm Tobias, sir. I saw Mr. Bone 2 weeks ago. He had just left when I came in that morning. He was just leaving office, saying that he was heading out for a meeting, but he did not disclose who he was going to meet. I did not think of nothing of it back then, but I suppose that could have been. But I suppose I didn't think that nothing would happen. It didn't seem unusual.
I see. And after how long did you report him missing?
I did wait for about a week, and 5 days ago I finally decided to make a report. As I said, he can take business trips that can last for weeks, but this time I decided to take action, as he had not announced he would be away for this long.
Any other further questions for Tobias?
Trying to think of maybe ask about how he seemed when he left, but I don't think that's.
Well, if there is no further questions, then Tobias will tell you that if you need him, he'll be at his desk and leave you to Maglin Bone's office.
Actually, Tobias, could you just arrange us some fresh recasts?
Certainly. And yeah, Tobias will go do that.
Give us a little more privacy.
Indeed.
Do we find anything out of order in the office?
It has also been ransacked, and Tobias doesn't notice.
No, it looks fine. I suppose you can make a awareness test or a scrutiny test at plus 20. This one's pretty easy.
Okay.
It is in much more tidier shape.
Ha! I roll a 90.
Oh dear.
It didn't. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I
my
rolled
target
a
was.
98. Yeah, you can't put plus 20, you have to put just 20 in.
Okay.
Put the plus 20 to scrutiny.
Or awareness, whatever you're better with.
It doesn't matter for me.
But much as I'd love to be able to pull up my aspects and say, I'm going to scrutinize you with this tool, I think I'm going to go standard scrutiny. Nope. The helmet, you cannot see.
Did you roll higher with awareness?
It's the same. It's pretty much the same.
Yeah, they both broke off perception, I believe.
Yep, and I got known in both of them, but I can't use the aspects when trying to determine how someone is doing.
Yeah.
Jarek, you're good with paperwork.
Yeah.
This is
I
a
don't
very
know.
good question.
I haven't heard anything from Sizer in forever.
That's a very good point. Thinking about it now.
I just heard him say to me.
So I'm struggling to stay conscious. So is
You okay?
actually just about to say no, I'm not. I'm sick, but I wanted to press on with this anyway. So I was kind of hoping it would get better, but it hasn't. It's gotten worse, and I was.
Oh.
And it's gotten to the point where I can't even really stay conscious or focus on anything here. So I was just about trying to find a good time to excuse myself. But
Well,
It sounds like you need rest.
I was gonna say, do we want to just break here and we'll pick up next week?
yeah, I mean, sure. I don't mind doing a few more sessions.
Plus, it's a good introduction to everything. It's doing pretty well.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
hope you've
we're
enjoyed
just-
so far.
However, I've also forgotten until now that fate points existed and I could have been using them this entire time. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, you
You
guys
spent too
have-
long playing D&D, and it's like, how do I re-roll things?
Like most of you have like full fate points.
That's what I'm saying. It's like
That's
I
a good
entirely
one.
forgot they existed until I realized, oh, what does that 4 mean? I'm like, oh, right.
But even
Yeah.
though I spent one earlier to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just hanging on to mine because I didn't know what we were going to get into today, but
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, I think Size has just completely
Yeah,
crashed.
yeah,
so, yeah.
Yeah,
he's,
the way he
he's
sounded
gone.
was not something
Yeah.
he would be up
No,
for.
I honestly thought he'd been pulled away because we got that knock at the door
Earlier, yeah.
when we very
Yeah.
started, and I didn't know if someone had come and because it's not like Sizer to not have input to a fucking
Yeah, at the same time,
Okay.
his thing wasn't actually muted, which made it weird. That's why I had to think about that for a second. Like that made it weird.
It's possible he might have muted from his end and not on Discord, but
yeah. When
Oh, yeah.
I mute off my headset controller, so you guys don't ever see that I'm muted.
Yeah.
yeah,
Same.
I'm usually sitting here with the thing for my volume and mic in my hand, and I
My
Click it
headset
on and off.
mic is on my head, so reaching up to tap that is much more awkward than tapping the control on my keyboard.
Yeah, that's fair.
mine's halfway down the cord, so I just have that sitting in my palm.
But yeah,
So
but yeah, I'm happy to break here and carry on next week.
But yeah, it's a good introduction. It's doing pretty well.
Yeah, it's been fun.
yeah.
Except for
mean,
me
I d-
forgetting my fate points exist, which I have 4 of.
Yeah, I mean,
You'll remember later.
little bit of a slow start, but new campaign with new characters. We're not in 2 hours in. We're starting to get our investigations underway.
Yep,
You know.
especially since it's a investigation moment, not like a big action scene. So you gotta
Yeah.
slowly gather evidence and get investigation.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
get Alexia some recap, because that girl needs more energy.
Yeah. Just give her. But wouldn't it be like giving caffeine to an ADHD person? It actually mellows them.
Yeah.
That is
It
that
just
is
slows down.
that is exactly how I deal with my nephew sometimes. I give him caffeine and he mellows and it's quiet and calm and not crazy. He's
See,
focused.
I have lived with Vaughn for long enough now to know that caffeine is kind of her fuel.
I
She
wouldn't
needs a
say
top up occasionally.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily my fuel, but I function on caffeine.
You occasionally need top ups.
We gain XP.
I'll give everybody 200,
That's
Yeah,
fair.
that's-
half of what normally people would get, and since we did like half a session.
Yeah, that's fair.
Also, I don't know. Yeah, as Saisa said, he probably was struggling to pay attention, so somebody probably should take some notes down, so he will have.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I
people
put in the
can remind
journal so
themselves.
far was the Inspector Crenning at the district precinct.
Yeah.
There's a player journal, I believe. That can you guys edit this?
Yes.
thing?
Yeah, we've already
Yeah,
put a
yes.
couple
I'll
things
put
in
some
it.
stuff
Yeah.
in.
Okay.
Someone else mentioned the Obscura traces.
Yeah, that's what I
Less
put down because I knew I was gonna forget that late. I know that's probably gonna be forgotten later if that's not written down.
Quest on the crystal. Does Genevieve have double team?
No, not yet.
Is she planning to get that at any point?
Probably.
Soon?
I was gonna say she said not yet, so
Yeah.
How do you add? Oh right, you have to add it
Yeah,
to the
'cause
total.
I think we should coordinate that because it's twice as useful when we get it at the same time.
Double team
Let's
is better when you
see,
have doubles of it.
where's Double team. That's
Maybe
double
I
tap.
should get double team.
General and offense.
Mm,
I
are you
could
melee?
technically get it now.
Yeah,
I'm-
same.
I'm technically melee, but I'm technically not.
I'm technically as well because the flavor just has short range anyway.
Yeah.
I have a whip, so I melee people from 3 meters away.
Do you want to get it now or spend stuff on other things?
I don't
Second
mind
recycle.
getting it now.
Yeah, let's get it now.
it would make sense for you guys to both have it pretty early.
Yeah, because that's only 200 XP. Yeah, that's exactly what we earned. So I'll go ahead and get it.
I'm glad I grabbed awareness though, because even though I have no aptitudes for it, I made sure to grab at least the known.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I
awareness is
thankfully
always
started with it.
Yeah. Awareness is
One thing
always worth it.
One thing I discovered after picking up my stuff, I have very little skill usage I can aptitude into. It's like, oh goodness, I am a murder machine, but that is it.
Yes, I can get parry. And a
That's
flip.
what I can do.
Because I actually can get double team cheaply. I did
Well,
not
then
think I
maybe
could,
you
but I
want to get
can.
it too.
Worst case scenario, I get it, and I just put a knife on the end of my flamer, and I just walk up
And
and stab him with you.
Athletics, parry, end of list.
Yeah, in terms
Anything
of
that
my
has a general,
skills,
I suppose it helps.
I have awareness, charm, deceive, inquiry, omniscience, the warp, and astral telepathica.
I have operate surface, so I can actually drive.
Oh, okay. So if we actually need to steal a car at any point and go somewhere, you're the man in charge.
Yep,
Yeah.
I'm
I love the
one
way
who
you go
flies.
straight to
Yeah,
stealing a
he's the
car.
fire.
I mean, why would we ever buy one?
Because they're cheaper than food.
I mean, Sentinels are.
No, Sentinels are cheaper than food. Cars, on the other hand,
Yeah, cars are not that
That is
expensive.
true.
I mean, think about
Yeah,
all the Sentinels we could have. Romping through the streets in a Sentinel.
I
That-
can
that's
get-
the high life.
I can get the parry. Kind of cheap, not really, because that has to have defense, so it's like 1. But I can get scrutiny super cheap.
One
Like,
thing I'm glad of is that I got dodge as my divination.
yeah, my aptitudes, I have strength and offense, toughness and defense, fellowship and social, and willpower and psychic. So I have 4 pairs.
And then
Nice.
I can get athletics cheap. Those are the only 2 I can get super cheap.
Yeah, athletics and parry is what I can get cheap too.
Yes, we are not skill set up.
No, I
Last
mean, I
time-
took a really
Last time
wonky
we
setup.
played, I was the skill setup who could get all the skills, but for relatively cheap. But this
just
time
wanna-
it's the other way around.
I don't really have
I
much
just
of
wanted
a
to get that
setup.
build done. Yeah.
So, what did you like about this first session? Was it,
It's
was it
interesting.
complete garbage?
No,
I thought it was
it's-
fine.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I really like the brief data slates. Those were really
Those
good.
are
Yeah, the
really
athletes
good.
are really good.
Yeah.
I'm honestly not going to bother showing up next time. It was terrible. I hated every second of it.
Oh
So-
my god.
How do you do?
It's
I
a
think
bit
the only
of a,
real
it's a bit of a slow boil. Not much combat yet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It'll
that's
take a bit of
fine.
time to things to pick up and us to get
I
into
mean,
our investigations.
I'm just happy we get some XP before we get into combat because
Yes, so
God,
now
Yeah.
Genevieve and Jonathan can double team and chain blade, chain sword, fuck somebody up.
Yeah, because
the plus
starting
30
Dark
the
Heresy characters are
attack
the
is
worst.
Actually, useful.
On the plus side, we have more. I think it was was it actually worse? Are we actually worse or better than Only War?
Worse. Those
Mhm.
guys are
Because only war guys get equipment.
Yeah, they
Oh,
get
yeah.
gear and shit.
I
Like,
mean,
you start
skill
with
wise,
heavy-
but yeah.
You can start with heavy fucking weapons. Think about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
getting a heavy weapon in this is really difficult. Because I think, like, heavy stubber is rare, and that's pretty much the only thing you can hope to get early on.
yeah. Whereas in only war, you can just have a guy that just starts off with a heavy bolter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I complain about the heavy. I would complain about the slow start, but that happens every time we start a new campaign anyway. So I think the only time
Yeah,
that was
I
an
mean, this
exception
is,
was Only War, and that's because you're thrown literally into combat.
It's like
right
you
as
have
soon
a
as
you
start.
have a short briefing, and then it's like, hey, now we're going into war.
I mean, this is a fast start compared to the original Dark Heresy, where getting your first flak armor was like, oh my god, now we've
Look
made
at
it.
me!
Yes.
Yeah, our first Dark Heresy involved about an hour for us to actually get onto the planet that we were going to, which involved at least 3 of us vomiting inside our helmets. Then like another 40 minutes to actually get to the city by
And then a
boat.
wall.
And then a brief exploring and investigating around the city before we ran into a baby slot, and I think somebody died.
Someone died on the first
Someone
mission.
died.
It was Dark Heresy.
It's
Dark Heresy
f-
1. That's
first,
the way
Yeah,
you
Dark Heresy 1 was a completely different. Where
I know,
Alright.
but I've never played it, so I can't exactly judge at this point.
well, I
Frankly,
mean,
somebody should run a Dark Heresy 1 game.
oh god,
that was so
horrible.
much fun. I
Everyone
miss
starts as a
Aviana.
scum and they get
Everyone
go on the game
starts
is-
as a noble scum.
Yeah. Uh,
Noble Scum is the best way to break Dark Heresy 1.
So you're supposed to earn no money, but instead you earn more money than anybody.
Yep,
Maybe I need to pick up a second psychic power.
maybe
You
you
had
do.
those in the first place?
I had one. I had telepathic link, so I can either read people's minds or talk to them in their heads.
Mm,
please
Timo,
don't talk to me.
are you going to take down at any point?
No, never.
Never.
What are you planning to specialize in anyway,
Me?
Psyker?
Oh, Psyker.
Telepathy.
So you can
Makes
control
sense.
people's mind.
I'm a Hierophant, so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
that
good
makes
at-
a lot of sense.
Because I'm basically going to be telepathy, and I mean, I might branch a little bit into other things like a bit of telekinesis, but I'm primarily telepathy.
Yeah, he wants spoilers. He wants spoilers from all the characters, so there are no surprises.
No, that if I wanted spoilers, I'd go divination, and I'd just be like, Kellyan, just tell me the
Tell me what
plot.
happens.
And tell me what
Yeah.
Tell me what we're going to
Divination
do next
broke it.
session, so we can just skip that, and then we'll go into the session after that.
No, there's only one diviner in this game, and it's the shadowy figure.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah, I could tell that from his fucking tarot card.
No, you
Well,
can't.
duh.
I
No,
have
like
3.
98.
I put all 3 in my inventory, so I have 3 of his tarot cards.
Yeah. And it's like, and I know what one of them was, and I've already forgotten.
It
Good
is,
job.
There was the region, and yeah, you explained what it was, and I didn't write it down at the time.
it was Magneto the hero.
Yes, I'm thinking of taking hallucination because I want people to see bugs.
Bugs,
Ah.
Creeping out.
I asked Timo. I asked you about the takedown, so we could just.
No.
Knock a
he
guy
said
down.
no. Yeah.
You don't want to knock
Never
someone
going
down?
to take down. No.
No, he wants to knock someone up. Wait, no.
I'll uppercut them to the air and then air chuckle them like in Mortal
Mm.
Kombat.
Mm.
Or Tekken.
Didn't you manage to do like
No.
a 64 hit combo before they hit the ground?
Yes. No, I wasn't planning on getting takedown at any point. So I'm going the 2-weapon thing, and that requires so much XP I can't really
Mhm.
focus on stuff like takedown, even though it's a tier 1 talent. So.
If I took him really all that bad, because I was like confused as why I was so focused on early on.
Takedown?
Hmm?
Are you talking about?
Token, icon, image.
No, it's just it does look a little sort of, you know, plague marine-y.
Yeah.
Mhm.
A little.
That is a fair observation.
Hmm.
I kind of went with something that would look more. Well, since it's from Frontier World, look more ragged.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the full picture, it's just kind of like, you know, sort of very used and battered soldier with, you know, slightly customized armor.
So,
But just the zoomed in picture, I'm just seeing like a plague marine.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. And I thought he was talking about the full image when he mentioned before.
so you're a
Yeah,
frontier
but
world?
takedown is
Frontier World, or yeah.
Which is why he likes to burn things.
What's the problem with takedown?
you don't. It says you do no damage with it. It's just stun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The stun action is usually more expedient.
Yeah. Well, it does give the minus. It remove the minus 20 from the stun action, but still. I mean, if I wanted to stun people, I'd have a Warhammer. But I already did that character once. I'm going to rip and tear. It's are the names of my chainsaws. One of them was
Mhm.
called Rip and the other was called Tear.
Ah,
Yeah.
Indeed.
Not that I can do weapon wield yet on anytime soon, but it's in the pipeline.
Mm.
Eventually.
Indeed. Dual wielding is great.
Mm.
You can
It is.
actually do it.
Yeah. It can be. It only takes like 500 XP for me to be able to dual wield relatively competent.
If you just want to do it quickly, you can just do ambidextrous and then the other one.
Yeah, with just 500 XP.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is the plot of this adventure? Who
Gene
done it?
stealers.
Chain stealers cults everywhere in the hive.
The entire hive is
Begets.
gene stealers.
Yes.
All of
The hive
heresy.
itself is made of gene stealers.
Everyone is baby.
Yes.
Yeah, sounds about right. I think you've cracked the case.
Haha, we are smart.
Uh,
SMRT smart.
I think he got revealed somehow and then people went after him.
Watch it turn out to be Eldar.
Oh, yeah.
They're always
That'll be
sneaking
fun.
around and being clever.
Fucking Eldar.
Eldar Gene Stealer.
Why did it have to be you?
Eldar stealers.
Yes. Gene Stealer cult invading an Eldar troop.
Gene stealer cult that have taken over a Harlequin troop.
Yes.
That would
And
be
we're all
genuinely
fucked.
That would genuinely be horrifying.
Yeah. I went through who had two weapon master in the books, and Harlequins actually don't have two weapon master. Only the Solitaire has two weapon master.
Yep.
So that tells how rare it is to have two weapon master. Yeah, Harlequins not masters of using two weapons.
Despite being the most common thing they do is sword and gun.
Yeah.
Well, you don't need Weapon Master to do so.
No, you don't. But one would think that Harlequins are masters at doing that. No, just the Solitaire, which is the Super Harlequin.
Well, I mean, how many other characters have you found that have two weapon master?
The Calidus and Everso Assassins. What else?
So the apex of human melee combat.
Yeah, basically the apex of human melee combat, and can't remember. I remember that Bloodletters didn't have it.
Yeah, no.
Well, they only use one big ass blade, so.
No, they use a whip and a blade.
Yeah.
Bloodletter?
Like almost all the artwork is whip and blade.
Bloodletters?
No, not Bloodletters, Bloodthirsters. I was thinking Bloodletters is
right.
just.
Oh yeah, confused. I thought you may have been like heralds or something, but.
No, Bloodletters are like no. Who cares about Bloodletters? Bloodthirster is the like console thing, closest to the god of murder and combat.
Yep. If Demoness don't have